Okay, so one of the most important things obviously about the water for any kind of lobster system is the salinity. So we have customers that are either close to the sea and use natural seawater, or customers further away from the sea that use artificial seawater. So both solutions are okay for working in our system, but there's things that we need to be aware of. We need to be able to identify and measure the salinity of the water so that it's safe for the shellfish. So if you're going to be using artificial seawater, then you need a source of clean source of tap water, preferably. One of the issues with tap water is that it can have either chlorine or chloramine present. So chlorine is used for sterilising the water, for making it safe to drink. But a lot of water companies now are using chloramines, which is a combination of chlorine and ammonia joined together. Now we know ammonia is toxic for shellfish anyway. Chloramine as a compound is highly toxic to all forms of aquatic life. So we need to deal with that in the water. One of the easiest ways to deal with that in the water is to use a product like Sea Chem Prime. Other tap water conditioners are available. If you're using things, then make sure that they are suitable for making a saltwater mix. Most of them are, but just to check whatever you're using it to be used for making up seawater. So what this does is this binds to the chlorine or chloramine in the water and makes sure that it doesn't affect the shellfish. Normally chlorine and chloramine can burn the gills of fish or shellfish, and we don't want that happening in the system. So that's the very first thing that we need to do, is make sure we've dealt with the chlorine or chloramine in the water. If you're using well water or water in a lake or a river or something like that, it's not being chlorinated or chloraminated, then you can use that instead. So we need to use a suitable salt. Wherever you're getting your salt from, make sure that it's been made up as a salt mix suitable for use with shellfish. There are a number of suppliers of these, and a lot of people make a salt mix that's suitable for shellfish. So when you're making up the salt, we need to add the correct amount to the water. So the salinity of seawater around the coast of the UK is between 32 and 35 parts per thousand. So that means around 1,000 litres of between 32 and 35 kilos of salt in that water. So if you're making that up, you make that in a separate tank, add your salt to it and let it mix. So we need to make sure that that salt is the correct level once we've made that mix, or indeed if we've got our seawater, we also want to check that's okay. So what we do is we use a salinity refractometer. You can use a hydrometer if you want, but they tend to be more fragile and not as reliable. So this is the type of thing that we use. So for a refractometer, we take a sample of seawater and put it onto this slide, if you like, here. So I can do this by dipping that in the water, and now I have my sample of seawater in there. And to check what the correct salinity is, I look through this viewing port here, up towards the light, and I can see I can read that off as being 32 parts per thousand. So that's good. That's natural seawater that we use. You would do the same if you made up a mix, and if it's too low, you would want to add more salt. Too high, you need to dilute it back down with tap water. If you find that your system is running with too high a salinity, this can happen over time if you're not changing water enough, or even if you keep the system switched off over the winter time and you don't bring it down, the water can evaporate, leaving more salt behind in the water, so your salinity increases. So it's very important every now and then, maybe a couple of times a month, check the salinity of your system is not picked up too high.